Hey, everybody, welcome to an episode that we were meant to have last week, but here we are. We're back and we are fixing our technical glitch, and we're bringing you a brand new episode of our AI versus Hollywood. We're bringing you a 90s video game that AI thought this would be an excellent concept movie. It's Earthworm Jim. That's right, I said it. Earthworm Jim. We're also bringing you one of our fantasy football updates. So I'm going to stop talking and we're going to get right into it.
We're geeks from the multiverse. We've come to unite all geeks. Now it's time to get geeky and dive right in, 'cause we're geeks from the multiverse.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Geeks from the Multiverse. I am one of your hosts, Grumpy Beard. With me, as always, Captain Listache.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Yes, and now today we're going to be talking about Earthworm Jim. Yes, unfortunately, as Matt said before, we had a little technical glitch. It is what it is. Life happens. It's, we can't dwell on it. And at this point, we're just.
I can say that I was pretty.
No.
I was
we were
pretty
both
pissed off.
No,
Yeah.
we both were pissed off. We're like, damn it, we just spent this much time, and we're like, well,
We spent about 5.5 hours doing those two episodes. Not just one, but two episodes.
and then we're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Seriously, but
Oh no, there were words said.
no,
I can't repeat them because yes, even though we are explicit, we're not that explicit.
No, I know, and I know what I just said. I get it, but my point is yes, we were upset, we were this and that, but at the end of the day, we're here to do Earthworm Jim again. It's all good. We're moving forward from it. But yes, before we get into that, though, we're gonna dive right into our fantasy football update. Oh my God! It's GFTM Studios, brought to you by Geeks from the Multiverse.
Oh my god!
You really can't with you right now. So I know nobody understood what we just did, but both of us
Oh,
were
boy.
being idiots, and we're waving our hands up and down like idiots.
Well, to be honest, it doesn't take a whole lot for us to be idiots. So
Well, that's true. Again, two dudes on two different mics. We're just a couple idiots.
yeah,
here.
we're just a bunch of jackass idiots. I don't know.
But yes, our fantasy football update. So now we're in technically week 5. We're actually doing this currently, but actually the thing is though, it is the ultimate showdown.
Yes, it's the ultimate podcast showdown because yes, this is our podcast league, but in this case, it is my Dathomir Maulers versus John's Snap Count Deviants. And we are up against each other currently right now. And right now, currently in the standings, I am in first. Is it sustainable? Probably not, because I just went from, I think, 5th place to 1st place.
I think I was probably 4th.
I think you were 4th.
I think I was 4th. Anyways, I went from 4th to 7th. And again, this is why if you lose one, guess what? You drop dramatically. And so I was like, great, that's cool.
But I think, I mean, honestly, I think from 1st to 5th, there was a 5th way tie based, I mean, it was all based on points.
No, I know all of it. Actually, really, the first 5 weeks so far have been mostly about points and trying to figure out, because if one person loses, then, people keep changing. But again, it is all about points. It's all about, like, it's like the points and as well as, like, I was going to say, like, allowed and all this other crap. I mean, it's like all these technical things. But anyways, I know.
I mean, right now, too, the 3rd place, 4th place, 5th place, 6th place, and 7th place, you're all 2 and 2.
No, I agree.
So it's all based on points right now. You just have the lower amount of points. But I mean, it's like 588 and 561 are the point differential. So you really could go from 7th to 3rd or to even 2nd at this point, just based upon how many points you get, even if you happen to lose. And somebody in one of these other players lose, teams lose too, you could still go to like 4th or 5th or 3rd.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm just kind of looking at, both right now. I mean, right now, we'll see. Right now, it is really a crapshoot. because at this point it depends on who does well and who doesn't. I mean, again, this whole thing about fantasy, and that's why I keep saying this. Like, it's all about luck. I mean, again, you can listen to the best strategists of fantasy and all this stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, there's really no like right answer because you
Yeah,
can pick the right people, and it's
I'll
still
tell you right now, all the analysts prior to Thursday were like, pick the Rams, pick the Rams. The 49ers are so depleted everywhere. Pick the Rams. Everyone's like, pick the Rams. They're going to do really well. They're going to eat on Thursday. So I was like,
I was gonna say, how many points, Matt, did you get?
I picked the Rams, and I was like, you know what? If they're going to eat, I'm going to pick the Rams. Like, there's no Brock Purdy, there's no Ricky Pearsall, there's no Jawan Jennings. George Kittle is still on IR, so like they're basically, they just activated a guy last week who was suspended. They have a guy from the Patriots. I mean, should I even go further? Like they're basically like they're one besides like maybe Baltimore. They're like one of the most injured teams. So I'm like, oh yeah, of course. Like the Rams have been really good on defense. They got me 1 point on Thursday. 1 point.
Sure did.
And granted, I'm glad it wasn't one of my other players that got 1 point because they were only projected for like 7 point something.
Right.
So like, it doesn't really throw my projections off too much, but I was like, come on, 1 freaking point. Come on.
I mean, I'm just looking at the update now. I mean, the problem is a lot of, or at least one person. So here's my thing. My quarterback, I was like, I'm going to go with Goff this time. And then, Chuba Hubbard was out. He recently got out. And then Bijan Robinson was on a bye this week. And so, like, I was like, oh, what do I do? And so I'm, like, trying to pick people and whatever. And I picked, like, Slayton. I picked a few other people because I was like, you know what? I'm just going to give it a shot and see where it goes. And at this point, again, I mean, they're projected for certain things. But, like, right now, I can tell you from what I'm looking at, I mean, this is only still Sunday. So, I mean, well, again, we're dropping this on Monday, but the point is, we'll see how this goes because right now it's not looking so hot, but again, that can change in a matter.
Yeah, I mean, it can go anyway, but
I mean, I know that our previous week so far. I mean, like I said, it's been a very standstill. There's always been like this 4-way tie between trying to get to first.
Fantasy
second,
football has been so freaking weird this season. Like I
would say it's weirder than even the previous seasons.
It's been such a freaking crapshoot.
No, seriously, I mean, some of the best players were getting out, or they're suspended, or whatever the hell it might be.
They're getting injured left and right. They're suspended, or they're just not performing. I mean, who would have thought Derrick Henry of all players would be under 9 points a game in up to week 5 and has already fumbled the ball in almost every single game?
Another one was Saquon Barkley. I mean, another projected player just like Derrick Henry to do so well. I mean, he's been, it seems like he's been kind of doing a little bit better than Derrick Henry, but like, some of your other top tier performers. I mean, now we were just talking about it outside, but like, now we have like, Tyreek Hill, who's pretty much at this point, what doctors are saying,
I mean,
his may not play ever again.
His career might be over, but I mean, at this point, I don't know. I mean, the podcast. I mean, I'm in 2 different leagues, but honestly, I think the podcast league is the one that I focus my attention more so on.
Oh yeah, the commission.
But I can tell you right now, I'm in the last place in the Guyland League, which is more of my family's league. Although it's really just Scott and Rachel that are family. The rest of them I really don't. know personally, but
and then like last year, the last couple of years I was with them, and then I said, you know what, I'm gonna focus on our league because last year for me was just too much. So I thought, hey, just stick with one. I'll stick with this league.
And I'm still trying. I'm still in there, but I'm in last place, and it's not because I'm not trying. It's just my players are just not showing up and they're not performing. So it's just I don't really know what to do or what not to do, but I mean I'm still gonna just keep going, but.
I mean, because I think the last couple of years for even the Guyland League, I mean, I'm pretty sure you were in the top 3, right? Most of the time?
Other than, I was in the top 3, top 4, and I think I made it to that third or fourth match, game, and I think I finished like 3rd.
I can't.
But it was really Scott's dad that really keeps edging me out of that league, which I don't even think he's in the league anymore.
Oh, I didn't know
for this season, but Yeah, I mean, I keep trying in that league, but I drafted seventh, I think, in that league. So
I guess it wasn't too bad.
I was I was towards the end of that draft. So I don't think I drafted well. I mean, I still have, when you have an 8-team league, you still draft pretty well, even though you know,
Well, I mean, I know that, future for our, to kind of wrap this up a little bit, like I know for future for this league, I mean, it's, we're trying to get more teams, which oh, trust me, I mean, that's why you really got to know which players you're going to pick because especially when if you have a 10-man or a 12-man team, I think for the most part, you're basically going to be choosing hopefully the best players that you can pick in the first at least couple rounds. I mean, because at that point, after
Yeah.
that, it's going to be slim pickings, especially if we did a 10-man team next year. Like it's going to be rough when you're trying to get those players and everyone's like, well, I guess that's just what it is, I guess, and whoever picks, whoever's drafting in like fifth or sixth, you probably have a little bit of slight advantage because then you can at least try to pick one early enough so you're not having to worry about waiting until like your first or eighth,
right.
Yeah.
So
it all depends.
Yeah, it's tricky, but I mean, we're still playing, and I mean, right now it's about 1:40. It's about almost 2 o'clock. So I mean, we're still in the midst of the beginning of the first set of games. So we really don't know who's
gonna win.
Who's gonna win this? Like who's gonna win at least week 5. So I think the next real update that we'll be able to give you probably will be week 7.
Yeah, I would say week 7. Well, I would say week 7 or 8, depending on what it is. But I mean, we'll see. I mean, at this point, it's just more. I mean, again, with our podcast, we try to do it as much as we can, but at the same time, again, we also have lives. We have things going on as well.
Well, we record 2 episodes at a time, so that's why we can't give you one every single week. But we will. The next one we'll give you will probably be closer to week 7 or week 8. But
I mean, the other big thing is too is that with good old Matt here, yes, if you're local, if you ever want to go get frightened for a living. You could go see Matt at your local haunt. I'm not going to say which. Well, I mean, you could go to Fright Kingdom, which is good old Nashua. Again, if you're in New Hampshire, but if not, then good luck trying to pick them out. That's all I'm going to say.
Hey, I'm not going to tell you where I am, but yes, Fright Kingdom in Nashua. We just finished our second weekend, but Friday, Saturday, Sundays moving forward until really the first weekend of November, because the first weekend in November is the Lights Out event.
And then there's nothing after that, right? There's not like a December or anything like that.
No, there is a December one. I don't know the dates in particular, but if you want to reach out to me or our social media, that's fine. I'll get the dates. But you can just go on Fright Kingdom, and they have their own website, and the dates will be there. But they do have a Christmas, and then in May there's a halfway to Halloween.
See, I couldn't remember, but anyways, I know. Moving forward here, let's talk about Earthworm Jim.
So there's music for this, so let's
let's get into it.
Let's kick it off.
Damn!
That just needs a yeah, like right at the end, right? Like it needs a
Yeah! Like, wait, what is that? Little John's in the house.
Well, not
now.
like a Little John.
Sorry. Anyways, yes, Earthworm Jim.
Oh my gosh, that's
because I know like I said, we both were upset about this because we were, whatever. But now we're gonna redo this and we're gonna try to, reimagine what we did. I highly doubt we're gonna remember it, but we're gonna talk about Earthworm Jim. But I'm gonna let Matt tell you about the game synopsis here.
Yeah, so if you don't know what like you're like, what the hell is Earthworm Jim? I mean, just crawl yourself out of the rock you've been living under or the cave you've been living in, or get yourself out of the woods, like find yourself a compass and get yourself out of the woods and come back to like society and the city life, you
Well,
know?
and so should we should we get like a gong or something like a boing?
Like come back to the city life and
come back to
live.
here.
Yeah. But Earthworm Jim was a run and gun platform series that launched in '94. It was for the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo, and it followed an ordinary earthworm named Jim who gains basically he gets this super powered robotic suit after it falls from space, turning him into this bizarre, sarcastic hero. The original game featured Jim battling across these really absurd, at times they were really grotesque worlds to rescue this princess called Princess What's Her Name. And then he would face off against these really weird villains named Psychro, Evil the Cat, Queen Slug for a Butt. Yes, that is actually her name, Queen Slug for a Butt, and she did have a slug
For a butt.
for a butt. And Bob the Killer Goldfish.
Ooh.
The game was known for its surreal humor, twisted visuals, and bizarre level design. Part of it's like riding a hamster, bungee jumping with snot, navigating hellish intestines. I know a big part of it was like when you would go from one part of the map to another, you would use your head pulling it out of the suit and using it as like a lasso to get to another part. You can't make this stuff up, John. Like I'm just saying.
No, I know you can't make it.
But the game stood out for like its animated style and just chaotic creativity. There was a sequel. I believe there was an Earthworm Jim 3 as well. But the sequel amped up this nonsense with new weapons, more freakish levels, and even more fourth wall breaking chaos. So that's the synopsis of Earthworm Jim as far as the games.
So think of it. Well, I was going to say there's a difference between what the game is and what the AI, came up with here, because AI definitely reimagined a lot of this, or at least some of the characters, and at least some of the worlds and stuff. And so, it definitely did a good job of describing what Earthworm Jim, in this case, if this was like a live action, movie. And so, Matt and I talked about it before that, you need to have the right team for, your writing, your directing, all this other stuff. Because like, when you look at, for example, like Sonic the Hedgehog, like like that sense, when people were like, the first time they saw Sonic the Hedgehog and they looked at him and said, what the fuck is this? What is this version? And then they're like, the fans got upset and they're like, oh, hold on, let me reanimate this. And they're like, oh, well, that's what Sonic looks like. I'm like, yeah, no shit, because what they did was they made a parody of it. I know we've talked about it before. Ugly Sonic is what they named it. It was actually in a Disney movie as well. But again, the point is like, we don't want to do that. That's why AI really came up with this and was like, hey, you know what? This is what we would think if you could do a team or like get a movie going. This is the concept that it came up with. And so,
yeah, and when we do these AI versus Hollywood, episodes, we're already assuming, like, one, if we were to do a project, like any one of these projects, we're assuming, one, we have a full budget.
we have the best writers. We have the best
and
directors,
that's
so
what
on
we're
and so
saying.
forth.
Like we have a full budget. We have the studio's permission to make this movie how we would make this movie. We would hire the best crew, the best writers. We would have the freedom to hire the best actors, not so like we're focusing on, well, we have to focus on, DEI hiring, and no. It's like fuck that bullshit, fuck all that bullshit. Like I don't care if we're not nominated for Best Picture because we don't fit this mold of, well, you don't have 30% of your crew matching this, like, well, you have to have somebody of ethnic or racial background, or
Oh, hold on. Did you say Rachel? As in your daughter, Rachel? No,
racial background, or you don't have anybody who's disabled, or you don't have anybody who's I don't care about that. What I care about is that we have people who are creative. We have people who are passionate about making a movie, and that they have the proper skills. I don't care about having somebody who's Indian or Pakistani just because they're Indian or Pakistani. I want somebody who actually has the skills to do it. And that's what we're focusing on.
And
Right?
you know what? Yeah, no, I agree with you. And you know what? I'm just going to tell everybody real quick. Matt just blopped the hell out of everybody here. he's like, what the hell's blopping? You know what? We're not going to go into that now, but maybe at some point we'll tell you what blopping is. But anyways, yeah. So the overview, the tone, like what would it, kind of feel like in this movie? So biggest thing is the genre, all that stuff. So in this case, it's a chaotic comedy, sci-fi adventure parody. The tone, if you think about it, it would be like a mix between The Mask, Spaceballs, and Guardians of the Galaxy. 3 of the weirdest things you want to put together, but there you go.
Yes.
That's the tone.
So
here.
the Mask is obviously Jim Carrey's The Mask, not like that weird movie.
Oh, Jamie Kennedy was the second one, but yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Yes.
Yeah, the first one was better than the second, and then
And obviously Spaceballs. Spaceballs is one of my favorites, and they're actually coming up with a second. We won't go there, but I'm excited for the sequel to come out.
I mean, and then of course with the Guardians
Guardians of the
course,
Galaxy,
Marvel.
Marvel, more of a serious movie, but it has like the properties of all 3 of these tones, and it's the way that we would be doing this is it's live action with CGI and with practical effects. So it's much like how like Pirates of the Caribbean was done, and a lot of these other movies where there were actors and stunt people that were wearing practical, makeup and practical suits layered with CGI. So it's not just like straight. I mean, I fully believe part of Earthworm Jim would be CGI.
Oh no, absolutely.
There would be scenes where he might be fully CGI, but I think you could do a kind of this muscle bound guy in the suit with just the head being CGI. There could be scenes of that, but I mean, obviously, if he's pulling the head out and doing the lasso thing, you
probably can't do that.
You can't do that with practical effects. But there are other characters that would be wearing, more of the full body suits where we would be doing CGI over them to, maybe having like that oozing slime or the moving parts on them, like the antennas.
Yeah,
where they would be moving, but we wouldn't be doing them practically. Where we have people with like the remote controls, like like moving.
I love how I'm looking at you going. He's like, hold on, let me show you what a controller looks like.
like moving them that way. But it would be like layered with CGI, so it looks more realistic and more, movie friendly.
Yeah, I mean, with this movie too, a lot of it is, like Matt was saying, like, yes, of course you'd have like, for example, I know we'll go into it shortly, but like, with Earthworm Jim being a worm, right? So you might have like you might actually have a worm, or you might have like certain CGI, maybe not all of it, but like certain, pieces of it, sure. But then like once he gets in the suit, like, it could be practical at first, but then again, his head might be more CGI. And so like, there's certain aspects, like he's saying, like, yes, I agree that, a lot of this movie could be done practically depending on what it is. But I mean, a lot of the characters definitely would be more CGI than anything, but it also depends on, I know we're going to talk about him later, but like Flybys, like that guy, I honestly think he would be more CGI than anything, because if not,
you could still, I think you could still do him practically, but I think there are certain aspects that, yes, I think there's a lot, with the characters here that you could do practically. Some of them, yes, you would still have to do, with CGI, and you'd still have to. But I would, as much as possible, would love to do more practical, because I think it would layer the chaotic comedy level of it much funnier if it's practical, as opposed to just having that like escape of like, yeah, let's just CGI it. Oh yeah, we'll CGI it. Oh yeah, we'll just see. That it feels like an escape when you do practical effects. Like, it's there, even if you're like, oh, that's just a dude in a suit. Sometimes it just makes it funnier that way.
Yeah, and I mean, again, it depends on how it's done. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is.
If you figure like any Aliens movie that you've ever watched,
well, that's mostly practical.
The alien is a dude in a suit.
No, correct. I understand. Just like if you watch Star Wars, I mean, there's a lot of that is practical. You know,
So
and
I mean, it is it is entirely possible. So what? Moving on to some of the worlds. There's three here. I will do the first one, John, because I know this one's gross.
so he wants to do the gross one. That's fine.
This one is the race. They're called Glooparians, and their home planet is called Uzuron 6. And we did not, and just fair warning, we did not come up with any of this.
No, and that's why we're saying, like, when I said there's some changes, like the planets and all that stuff. I mean, the only thing that's real is Earth, right? Because again, hence the name Earthworm.
We can't make up Earth. Earth already it already exists. But we did not come. This is all AI, and this is what we prompted AI, and this is what came out. So they're the Glooparians. They rule on Uzuron 6. And Uzuron 6 is basically a slime-slicked homeworld of the Glooparians. They're a mucus-based alien species. They are infamous for their emotional instability and constant oozing.
Oozing. I love how you emphasize that. Oozing.
Oozing.
Well, yeah, because you'll understand why in a little bit.
So as Glooparians age, or get bitchier for that matter, they begin to excrete massive amounts of something called gloop.
Hold on. Matt, since if you're talking about age, are you getting more bitchier the older?
I think I've had the same amount of bitchiness.
Oh, bitchiness or assholiness? He's like,
Assholio. Anyways, so they excrete massive amounts of a substance called gloop, and gloop is a sticky bioslime that basically coats their bodies, their homes, their ships, or anything else that's unfortunate enough to cross their path. And the planet is a bubbling, burping swamp of mucus rivers, gloop volcanoes, and royal slime trails that never dry. It smells like a boiled armpit and sounds like a wet shoe.
See, that's why I would never want to visit. Because, I remember we took a look at it before, and I mean, it's so like their homeworld.
Dismal.
Well, yes, but it's like I think I mentioned this before, but it's like a medieval kind of like theme, when you take a look at the concept art, it's like it looks like you're back in like the early, like the Crusades, basically.
It looks medieval, and it looks like it looks like a medieval kingdom, kind of a town with the kingdom in the background. Well, but everything's covered in that weird slime.
Well, and unfortunately, with these Glooparians, they're well known because, when they invade your world, they make sure that everything around them, is filled with this slime as well. And so, moving on to Chrysalon, which is, what is it, insectoid kind of planet?
Yeah, so they're insectoids, which are aliens. They're not just insects.
So, but they're natives again. So they're former races. I love how it has to call it like that. Is insectoids. They're native species now they have been for the Chrysalon, and they're now being oppressed by the Glooparians. Yes, occupied by the Glooparians. Shit. But anyways, planet. So basically, it was once a buzzing utopia of insectoid culture. Chrysalon was known for its gleaming hive spires, pollen-rich skies, intricate bugcraft highways. That was before the Glooparian invasion. Pollen-rich skies. Oh, oops. I'm sorry. Let's try this again. Yes, that was before the Glooparian invasion. Now it's a drippy, gunk-covered disaster zone where once proud insectoids cities sit buried beneath layers of ooze and mucus. The native bug population now lives under the gooey rule of Queen Mucus-Chugger. Well, yeah, that's a lovely name too.
Oh, isn't it?
Slug for a butt. I think Mucus-Chugger is better than Slug for a butt. And her Glob Squad. Yes, we'll mention all these later. But her Glob Squad, I can't speak. Her Glob Squad enforcers. There we go. Gloop geysers erupt where honey used to flow, and the only buzzing now comes from the flaboys, and it's not joyful. Yeah. So the biggest thing is you look at these insectoids. It's like think of I think some of them to me they kind of remind me of like a walking praying mantis, without certain the wings and stuff. But it's different. I mean they're kind of like the village that they were showing in the concept. It was think of if you were in again that medieval kind of vibe, but it was more like if you were going in and like walking into like a very peasanty kind of village, or like kind of like your native, think of like Native Americans, like something like the mud huts and like things like that nature. So now, like again, it was probably a beautiful place with all this glowing, sunshine, and the again with the honey and everything else. But like all of a sudden you look at it and it no, like,
like
you
I
don't
said, I
want
mean,
to
now
want to
it's
look at it.
now it's just a disaster zone, and I mean, this is where yes, the Queen resides on Uzeron 6, and this is where kind of we'll explain it when we get to the actual story of it in the 3 acts when we go through the acts of it. But on Chrysalon, this is kind of where the princess is kind of overseeing this occupation.
Well, and
of,
this is
of Chrysalon.
right, and this is basically her first chance to prove to her mother, right, that she can actually take over as the queen one day. So this is kind of like her defying moment, I guess, if you want to.
Yes.
I use air quotes here because you'll find out later.
You'll find out, yes. And the last one, and I'll take this one, John, because I know you struggle with the name of this one.
Trashopolis. There you go. See,
Yeah.
See, I said it now, but before I could do it.
Oh, yeah, you couldn't say it before, but Trashopolis Prime. This one is an orbiting dying binary sun. Well, this one orbits a dying binary sun in the Rust Nebula, and it's a junkyard planet, scrapyard world built from galactic failures, which are broken ships, forgotten tech, discarded relics. Basically, like sparks fly from the ground, the air hums with static, and scavenger beasts fight over scraps all over basically the whole planet. And this is where Jim eventually meets his most unlikely ally.
Good old Schubert, and so
Schubert.
we'll explain Schubert later, but let's just say Schubert's a big part of Jim's adventure, at least in this
Yes.
story.
And so this place, if you took like Wally and Dr. Seuss and you kind of melded them together, this is what the image kind of like looks like to me.
And I would say that, but I would say more like I'd say industrialist, like kind of approach, maybe. Like it's a little bit more gritty in some ways, like, when you're looking at it, because like you see, one alien, like what looks like Schubert, right? Like petting him or whatever. And then it's like the far right.
There's like a robot, and then there's like
Yeah.
a goblin
Looking, yeah, and I'm like,
looking
what the
thing,
hell's
yeah.
going? Yeah, so it's kind of like a mismatch of like all different species on this one planet. Because again, think of like your,
They're just,
thieves kind of a planet,
like scrappers and random, just random aliens and random,
yeah, just again, just a bunch of randos on a random planet like this, and then moving forward here, we got our characters, right? So we got good old. I'll take the first 2, just so that, and then you could talk about, or unless you want me to take them, that the third one. It's up to you, man.
I think you do.
Oh, I do it
I
better?
think you do the accent really well. So
Okay.
I'll take the first 2, and then
Okay,
you
fine.
you
Okay,
can
fine.
take the other.
Oh, the other. Oh, okay, that's fine. Go ahead.
So obviously we got our main character, Earthworm Jim. So he's the clueless worm who thinks he's a destined hero. He's powered by a supersuit that he barely understands. He has obviously his signature catchphrases like groovy, warm out, wowee. He does his. He's gonna have a lot of those in the like throughout the movie. He's just this clueless worm who thinks like, I have this suit, I have to rescue the princess. That's my main mission, and that's just he thinks he's just some hero who needs to do what he needs to do. And
I mean, Jim, it's funny. It's like he's the likable kind of person, but at the same time, he is somewhat of an idiot because, or what is it? An idiot delight? Is that what you called it
idiot
before?
delight, yes.
So like he's smart in certain ways, but he ain't like socially smart. I'll say that because like I feel like there's certain things like emotional and things like that he doesn't quite understand, and so like we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But good old Schubert.
So Chubert is actually a 2-headed junkyard. Well, he's not actually 2-headed. I don't know why I didn't fix that. He's actually just a regular. He's just a junkyard mutt. The one thing though is that he has a metal jaw, and that metal jaw actually allows him to eat junk. It allows him to chew it and actually like eat the junk.
I mean, well, so yes, and what Matt's gonna say too is like Schubert is,
He's not a regular dog.
no, he's definitely not a regular dog, but like This is where it gets interesting. So it's like he has his first form and then he has a second form, which I'll let you get into.
I'll tell you the even though it says that he looks, he's a lovable pup, he does not look lovable.
No, even his
He-
metal jaw when he's in his first form is like
He looks mean as shit, and
he looks like a grumpy old bastard.
I would
basically.
I would not walk up to them.
No, I mean
But
it's just it's not.
Earthworm Jim being kind of a dumbass. I could see him just being like, "Hey, little puppy,"
You're like, hey, come here, let me pet you real quick. Arr,
But when Schubert like rages out and just becomes aggressive, he's Schubert is a were dog, so he actually kind of becomes this rage monster and hulks out into this kind of were dog, and that's where you get the two-headed kind of like
it's kind of like what did we say, like underworld, like kind of like a lichen in a sense where
Yeah.
it's just like this I also think of like Van Helsing, like the werewolf, only the big size and stuff, like that's that kind of with him. And then again, so like also kind of think about Cerberus, in Greek mythology without the third head, but like he's coming after, especially like, and it's funny when he's in this form, Schubert, uses fucking Earthworm Jim as like this like chew toy, and he just throws him across, but like, Earthworm Jim's like, oh, okay, hey bud, yeah, sure, go ahead, throw me around, like whatever. And
Yeah.
you're just like, okay, I didn't think that was gonna happen, but
yes, so he basically rages out, and that's when you kind of see this were dog kind of transform, and he does have the two heads with the metal jaws, and the only real thing that kind of calms him down is Jim throwing him stuff to chew on, which sometimes it's himself,
right.
which is again, we're in a chaotic comedy parody satire type movie, so this is exactly sometimes if he's trying to like calm him down. It's like, hey, here you go, buddy. Like, here's my leg.
Here's my leg. Why don't you chew on that for a little bit?
So we got Earthworm Jim, we got Schubert. Who's next, John?
Oh yeah, of course. Who's next, John? So you got to give me a second here. So the next character is Princess. Oh my god, so instead of what was it, Queen? What's her name? Or sorry, Princess. What's her name?
Yes.
AI's like, oh my god. So little Valley girl, Gluparian royal, vapid and self-absorbed. She's obsessed with her bug ball boyfriend, Chad. Bro. Yeah, like literally, like, hey, what's up, bro? Bro.
Hey, bro.
So basically, she hasn't started oozing yet, which she treats as a beauty mark, which is interesting because you think like. I mean, I know we don't know this, but like I feel like it feels like a certain age, like you know what I mean, like a certain age.
Yeah, I think it's
stuff.
because like one, she hasn't really been bitchy per se. Like she has.
I mean, she is kind of bitchy in some ways, but
well, yeah, I think she is bitchy, but she's like that valley girl. She's still very, very young. Like probably like.
It's like what, like
it really
18,
didn't,
20?
It really didn't give her an age, but I still would say like if in human years, I would probably say like maybe 15, 16.
Oh, I was thinking older than that. I thought it was maybe like 18, 20 maybe.
I would say probably 15, 16.
All right.
As far as age goes. But she's, one of those like live streaming Gen Z types where she's like, oh my God, like you're so gross. Like, it's just that Valley Girl, Mean Girls, like that's her personality. Like that's the.
Well, didn't you actually? I think a little while ago, didn't. I'm not gonna poke. I'm not trying to like bring up certain things that Matt has done, but let's just say Matt has done some story writing, and I know he created a Gen Z version of some fairy tales. That's for a different time.
There's actually one on our blog on our website right now.
No, but I just think it's funny because like it'd be that same thing. Like she'd be like, "Oh my god, do you see my dress? Like it's oozing right now." Like or I don't know. She'd be doing something stupid. Then
Gross.
so gross. Like or in this case, I guess Gen Z would be like sus or like Riz,
Yeah.
man. Or whatever the hell it is, man. I'm too old for that shit too now.
So buzzing.
So bussin'. Anyways,
Yeah.
And then
and
then we got Chad. So yeah, bro. Say he does a really good impression of Chad,
Bro.
So the princess's dumb, muscle-bound bug ball, which we'll get to in a minute, boyfriend says "bro" every other sentence. So he'd be like,
Hey, bro.
"Hey, bro. Hey, you want to play some bug ball, bro?"
Bro.
It's so the reason why I was gonna say Chad's not really like that important, but I mean he is kind of
Yeah,
important to a degree. But like, so the reason why we're gonna mention this real quick is like Princess. Oh my God, she's like totally infatuated with Chad. So like every time he gets in the room, she's like, "Oh my God, Chad, look at your arms! Look at how big they. Oh my God," and it's just like literally just doesn't see anything else besides him. It's like tunnel vision with this guy, which I don't understand.
And he says bro to her,
Hey,
which makes it funny because he
Right.
says bro to everything. Like
So it'd be like the
he's
queen,
just-
be like,
he's
"Hey,
just
hey,
dumb,
bro."
like, hey, bro.
So imagine saying that to the guy, "Shut the fuck up, Chad."
Okay, bro.
Okay,
Like,
bro. Okay, I'll go over
no.
in the corner. And then you know what? I'm gonna let you do this one because I know you had some very. Let's just say last time when we were trying to do this, he got very a little opinionated about
Well,
who certain
so-
things were. But anyways,
Queen Mucus-Chugger. She's probably the grossest character of all of them. I mean, Flyboys is he's pretty gross too with the gloop, but
well, hold on. What? Yeah, well, don't jump ahead. now.
Queen Mucus-Chugger, she is just a fully oozing Glooparian overlord. She drips with the bio slime. She's loud, tyrannical, fueled by rage and mucus, and she rules with a glooped-soaked fury. And yes, I have strong opinions because
I can't wait to hear him. Go ahead.
AI had chosen Melissa McCarthy to play this character, and yeah, if you didn't already know, I absolutely despise Melissa McCarthy.
Well, let's put it this way. Matt doesn't like a few actors and actresses. He just has his own opinions on. But yes, no, I know that Melissa McCarthy, especially when I mentioned, I was like, actually, let me mention it again. What I thought the newer Ghostbusters was your favorite movie, man. I honestly thought it was the greatest of all time. Looking at Matt, he's
No.
like, "Shut up! Don't you dare!"
That
say
is the worst fucking Ghostbusters ever, and don't ever say that on this podcast ever again. No, but I understand the why behind AI choosing Melissa McCarthy because she is the amount of annoying that the character needs. Like she is the pinnacle of the character. You know what I mean? So when you're talking somebody who's loud, who's bitchy, whose voice just annoys the fuck out of you, that's Melissa McCarthy.
And Matt's like, "You know what? I'll say this to her face if I ever see her."
Hey. I'm not saying anything that's not true. I mean, any movie that you've ever seen Melissa McCarthy, and that's the character that she plays.
No, I know. I'm not saying that.
So,
I just thought it was funny.
That's
that it was your version
exactly
of it.
that's exactly the character of Mucus-Chugger. She just
You know-
plays that like
I was gonna say this. I would have thought also like Rebel Wilson, at least back in the day. You know what I mean?
yeah, but
Like, when-
she's just not that same type of energy that
I
that
get it.
that I think Mucus-Chugger has. Like, even though like she is loud and tyrannical and she's fueled by rage, she still has that comedy edge where like the amount of bitchiness just makes it funny.
Well, I know we're gonna move forward here, but I figured why don't you mention the next one since I know this one's your favorite of them all.
I love flybys, and I love the idea behind the flyboys. I think that these two, the flyboys are not a character, but a series of characters because flybys is their god. Like they worship him because he's a fly hybrid. So he's not a straight fly. He's a insectoid fly hybrid alien. So he doesn't just live for a few hours and then die. He has a full lifespan. And so he's kind of this like twitchy fly hybrid alien bounty hunter. One, he's obsessed with Gloop, and that's how he gets paid.
Right, but mention why he's obsessed.
Well, because he loves Gloop.
Hold on.
He
No,
eats it.
There you go. That's
Well,
what I wanted you to say.
Well, he eats it. So he also leads these flyboys, and they worship him like a cult leader. But flybys is like it's both of it's his name because of drive-by flybys. It's a kind of a funny,
like punny, yeah.
punny
very,
name.
very punny name.
But his character is designed to be sort of like these 1940s, 1930s, 1950s mobster, much like Godfather. In fact, I think one of the quotes and like some of the things that he does, it is exactly like the Godfather.
Well, because we talked about that last time, and I remember, there was actually like it was the way it was worded. It was like a little differently, but like so a lot, you'll notice too. We'll mention it down the road. Is that there's a lot of like movie references in this movie that you just don't think about until you see it. But like, it was interesting that AI was like, hey, why don't we take like actual like movie quotes, but like change it up a little bit and then just like put it in the movie.
There is one that they use for flybys, and it's one from the Godfather, and they change it up a little bit, and it's funny, like it's like leave the glue, but and that one was like leave the cannoli, but leave the gun, but take the cannoli, and it was kind of the same thing, but it was changed for this movie, but it was funny. It was like something similar to that, but the flyboys they're straight flies. Like they're flies dressed in the same type of garb. Like they're in like the pinstripe suits, and like they're straight like mobster types, but they have short lives. They live about 4 or 5 hours.
So this is my favorite part, because when Matt had to describe this to me, and I was like, this is legit of what AI came up with here.
So they constantly die, and then a new one gets basically vomited out and becomes a new flyboy. But each death sparks this really dramatic funeral ritual. And again, we did not create this. This was straight AI. And AI had thought, why don't we take the script from Fight Club, when every one of these flyboys individually die, which again is every 4 to 5 hours, like they don't live for very long. So throughout the whole movie, there's always one dying.
So the best part of this is like they're in let's say it's like a serious scene or like a funny scene. I'll let you explain it, but basically you'll hear this and you're going to be like,
yes,
you want somebody to just say, shut the fuck up. Like, I don't want to keep, but.
So in Fight Club, if you've never seen the movie, there was a character named Robert Paulson, and in the movie he dies. And so they stand up because basically in Fight Club, like they were saying like nobody really has like a name. And they were like, no, his name was Robert Paulson. And then they all kind of begin like to chant like his name was Robert Paul. So like it took that, and it completely changed it. And basically every time one of them dies, and all these flyboys have like just generic ass names like Glenn, Todd,
Joe, Jimmy.
Jeff. So basically, whenever when one dies, they all, like one of them will shout out, "His name was Glenn, the 154th," and so it
just like,
and then they all will shout like all at the same time,
"Glenn, the 154th."
Yeah, Glenn, the 154th, and then when a new one gets vomited up, they'd be like, "All hail Glenn, the 155th."
Right. And so you're sitting there, and then like I said, it's a serious part, and then somebody. I honestly think what we should do, like if it was a real thing. Somebody should like shut up, like or just like a real quick, like like we're trying to be serious.
This is like, and this is what makes it funny is because this is constantly happening throughout the whole movie. So every time they go to, Mucus-Chugger, or they go to Princess Oh My God, and you see the flyboys, it's gonna keep happening every time. So there's gonna be a new one vomited up, or there's gonna be one dying. So you're going to hear it in the background every single time you see these guys in the shot. They're going to be like, "Oh, his name was Todd the 57th." And you're like, "Oh, here's Todd the one, you're like, shut up.
You're like, "All hail Jimmy the 159th." So you're like, "Wait, what? Shut up." Like, we get it.
Yeah.
And then good old globobs. Okay, so these are your interesting
the
oozing.
globs.
So they're ooze-based foot soldiers who split when they're hit. So, and then they merge into GlobZilla, which that's a different. We'll get to that later on. They merge into a GlobZilla, a towering kaiju of slime. So I'll mention two things here. So Globob, I don't think Matt's ever played this, but I know in like Ratchet and Clank, there's like these little little things, and basically it's the same thing. You hit them, and then they just get smaller, and then there's times where they might form and get a bigger one. So it's kind of that same idea, but in this case, we were joking here, but like with the GlobZilla thing, it's like, hey, look, it's GlobZilla, somebody, oh my God, it's GlobZilla, there. So it's like this thing that comes out of nowhere, and you're just like, it would be like that same like Godzilla back in the like, oh my God, Godzilla, so we're hoping that AI would help us with like a scene like that, because
there'll be a scene like that where everybody's like running around and like, oh my God, what the hell is that?
Godzilla! I'd be like, wait, Godzilla? No, GlobZilla,
Yeah.
or something stupid like that.
So yeah, these things are, I would almost, that game, but I would almost say like they would almost be similar to like Minions.
Yeah,
For like, the queen and the princess, like they are foot soldiers, but they also kind of like help with like other tasks, and they do other things like this. So they are kind of like minions, but they do help with like
yeah, and I mean
as soldiers and fighting.
I feel like that character, the Globobs. I mean, we'll get into who's voicing it later, but like, I think they just like the Minions. I think they should have like their own kind of like language in some ways, but they do understand what the Queen Mucus-Chugger is saying, or even the princess. I really think that they should have their like separate thing, because I think it would just be like a kind of like a play on like funny thing going on, because they'll be like, yeah, okay, and you're like, and then they go do their thing.
Yeah, I mean, it does need to be separate from how the Minions actually sound, but yes, I do think that they would have their kind of own like
secret language or
sound or something that would be like different. I mean, it have to be like more of a blurbing, blah, 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 like
something weird and stupid. But and then we're gonna jump right into the acts here. So
yes.
Oh, okay, hold on. Go ahead. What's up?
Well, I was gonna go into Act 1.
Oh, okay. I guess you're going into Act 1. I guess I'll go in the second one. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
So, Act 1. This is the origin chaos. So, we have the insectoid planet Chrysalon, which is now under Gluparian rule. They're taking over Princess Oh My God.
Oh my God.
We've already introduced, so I'm not going to go too much into like the character again, but she's obsessed with her bug ball boyfriend, Chad. Chad has started basically on this planet. The insectoids play this game called bug ball, which is, I would assume, is kind of like football or maybe rugby, maybe maybe in between the two.
Yeah.
But Chad and I'm assuming some of the Gluparians have started playing so that they can dominate the insectoids even more. And Chad and the Gluparians never have played this sport, so they're obviously terrible. And Princess Oh My God is like, I need to give them an edge. So she orders this secret stolen military supersuit off this dark web and is like, I'm going to give him an edge so that he can cheat and dominate these stupid insectoids at their own sport. Well, the problem is, instead of arriving on Chrysalon, the suit gets lost in intergalactic shipping. And I absolutely hate when my packages get lost, John, in intergalactic shipping.
Honestly, you know why?
It's the fucking worst. You
Well,
know what I mean?
It is the worst. And I was
Honestly.
going to say, like, Mars. I mean, I know we're going to go visit. Maybe there's a bunch of packages there. Maybe
It
that's
probably
what
is. I mean, I don't know where all my packages go, but they're probably stuck in black holes or something. You know what I mean? I fucking hate
especially
it.
those. I mean, think about it. I mean, think about Geeks from the Multiverse. I mean, it could be in another universe.
It
Could be
probably
in
is,
another
and it
multiverse.
sucks. Anyways, the suit's lost in intergalactic shipping, so the truck delivering it gets stuck in a black hole, opens up, and all the packages are lost. So the suit basically crash lands on Earth, and in some quiet backyard. And I assume, like, when I envision this scene, you would kind of like see the suit crash land in this like really quiet backyard. The grass is nice and green. You'd see the suit crash. You'd see this worm like kind of peeking out, and you're like, oh, there he is. You see him, and like a worm just picks him up, and and you're like, oh shit, what the hell, And then maybe the camera goes like underground, and then you actually you see Jim, and he pops up right in the mouth of the neck of the suit, and the suit then activates, and suddenly like you see the suit filling up, and you see Jim kind of activating and becomes what you know as Earthworm Jim.
Well, I'm curious. Like, would he be? I mean, I'm assuming he's got to be a certain height because I mean, worms are usually like maybe a few inches long or something like that. But I'm assuming he's got to be like once he gets in the suit, he actually like gets bigger enough. Like he's probably like I don't know anywhere from like let's say 5'10" to like 6'2" or something like that. I don't know.
I think it's just the
ballpark.
size of the suit. I mean, when you're watching when you do the gameplay, he's just a regular worm. So I think the suit is what actually makes him like longer. Because
No, I know, but
in the cartoon, obviously it's a cartoon, but I think the suit makes him more of a substantial size.
yeah, and that's what I figured. I mean, when he's in a regular worm form, I mean, he's probably only like a few inches long. He's not going to be very big. Where
Right.
if he's in the suit, he's got to be at least that, like I said, 5'10", maybe 6'2", or I don't know, somewhere depending on who plays the character. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so basically at this point he's Earthworm Jim. He's now he's actually got eyes, he's got a mouth, like he's talking. He's groovy, he's doing his thing, he's jumping over houses, he's blasting random objects, like he's having a good time. Like he's no idea what the hell's going on. Inside the suit, like he does find this tag. It's from the princess, and there's a really random photo, and it's like kind of her with her mouth wide open, and it's like, "From your fave princess, come rescue me, stud." And instantly, right there, he's like, "Oh my gosh! Like she needs rescuing."
No, I
Like,
mean, and that starts the story of how he's starting to go. on
right.
his
So
journey.
that's where him being just this dumb but enthusiastic, like he interprets this tag on the suit as his destiny. He believes the princess is crying out for his help, and that's where he's like, she needs my help. I need to go rescue her. Like he's looking at the picture and he's misinterpreting like her sexy face, which is probably not really a sexy face. It's really just her like random, fish lips, as like she's in pain.
Yeah, it's because I mean I looked at the concept photo. I mean of just her because that's really what that photo would
Yeah,
be.
and that concept photo looks like she's in pain.
Yeah, and she's like, look, it's almost like she's like about to go to the bathroom and do some other things going on in there. That's just with her face open like that. But yeah, I mean, and then meanwhile, good old princess here, she realizes that the suit is missing, panics, she's trying to cover it up, her reckless act, and then she secretly dispatches Flyby, sorry. And is called a Flyboys, and then just to retrieve it. So before her mother finds out, because again, this is a key part because she's trying to say, "Hey, I got this, Mom. Don't worry about this."
Yes.
Kind of a piece.
She's trying to still prove herself that like she can rule, even though honestly the princess could care less about ruling. She just wants to live stream, shop, do makeup, and hang out with Chad. Even though Chad just like, bro, hey, bro.
You know what
hey,
she's?
bro.
You know what I was gonna say? You know what she's using for social media? Gloopgram, or like a Gloop book or something like that.
Yeah,
or
I mean,
something stupid.
she's basically just trying to be a teen. She doesn't care about ruling, and her mom is like, if I need you to prove yourself that you are royalty, or I'm gonna take your royalty away from you. And she's just like, whatever, like, geez, Mom, like, like it's just that Valley Girl, like,
Whatevs, like
you're so extra right now. Gosh,
stop being sus. You're so stupid. But jumping into the second act. So this is Worm versus the world, right? So you got Globobs. They start raining down on Earth. Jim fights them, but then every time he blasts one, he starts to notice that there's smaller, faster versions of themselves. Eventually, they merge into GlobZilla, and again, we've already talked about that. But like GlobZilla swats Jim like smack right across, And all of a sudden, it was such force that he's launched skyward. Okay, so basically, he's just flying. He's probably going, his like face is like moving, like like in the cartoon.
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah.
like,
Oh,
and then-
I mean, yeah, and he's like, wowie,
like
and
he's doing that. But basically, what happens is, in good old pure parody fashion here, is like Jim rips a jet engine off a plane and then rides it like a rocket into space. Screaming that wowie, and so. In this part for me, it's like, and there is a video that I don't remember if we sent it out.
I mean, now it's probably about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, so
now.
it's on there now. But the thing is like you see the concept and you see it, but it's like for him, like the only thing that this is where physics come into play. I really don't know how he would ride, a jet engine just to go into space because. Again, I understand it's a movie, but it's whatever. I mean, whatever. That's just the way it is. But, he crash lands, he's going, again, on this jet engine, he's going into space basically. But apparently, again, it runs out of fuel, right? So he's just kind of floating. But then eventually he gets into this planet called Trashopolis Prime. See, I did it right this time.
Oh, you did it right.
He's like, but anyways, this is where he finally meets Schubert. Again, our lovable, aggressive dog that, yes, he turns into a rage monster. Again, we've already talked about it, but again, at first, he's just this adorable, apparently what Jim thinks is adorable little pet, and, Schubert hulks out into the slobbering rage beast when he's provoked. And so Jim, again, we've already talked about this, like, he throws like a piece of garbage to him. And then like for this case, like he uses a tire and he's like, oh, wow. Okay. So I noticed that I can calm him down now by using trash and garbage and things like that. But one of the things that Jim finally does is that, he's scavenging around through piles of galactic junk. Jim discovers a massive, absurdly oversized plasma ray gun. So this is where, like in the video game, like this was his iconic weapon that he uses in the game.
Yes.
So, he's covered in blinking knobs and useless scopes. And, the gun is covered in blinking knobs and useless scopes. It looks more like a child's toy on steroids. That's, I guess, best way to put it. And then, he picks it up and he proudly declares a new catchphrase, "Blasterific!" And so he uses that. And then from then on, again, the ray gun becomes his prized possession, though he mostly uses it wrong. And this is where we joked about this. So, yeah. So imagine him in this case, like climbing up scrap piles and like he blasts holes in it. So he's climbing and then he uses it. And then he just starts falling backwards because his dumbass didn't realize like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. And then, so he vaporizes, for example, like, his own escape routes. And then, for example, he almost killed Schubert. He's like, oh, sorry, Schubert, I didn't mean to shoot you, bud. And then just as Jim is starting to, wreak havoc on Trashopolis. See, I didn't screw it up that time either.
Hey.
The queen finds out. Good old Queen Mucus-Chugger. She's furious at her daughter's stupidity. No shit on that one.
Hey.
And then Queen Mucus-Chugger personally arrives on Chrysalon. So again, just like any mom would be pissed. Like,
yes,
she's pissed.
she's
mad. She's mad as hell. So she locks the princesses in her room and then takes command of the hunt herself. She dispatches the elite Glob squad and waves of Globobs to Trashopolis Prime, determined to claim the suit for herself. And so there's a lot going on here.
There is a lot going on, yes.
So the chaos that basically unfolds from this is, flyboys, they collapse in mid-battle, replaced seconds later with new maggot-born recruits. Each, again, gets a solemn funeral. We're not going to redo it, but you get the idea.
His name was Glenn the 153rd. He was a flyboy.
Flyboys for life. No. And then you got the Glob Squad
All
marching.
hail Glenn the 154th.
Shut up. No. And then you got the
Sorry,
squad.
I couldn't help myself.
I know you couldn't. And then the Glob Squad, they march like parody stormtroopers. So this is the party part. So like you're watching them. So it's not like, they're like, no, these guys are like basically fumbling over themselves. They're trying to be. But then they're fumbling over themselves because they're slime. So they're walking and all of a
It'd be
sudden,
funny if they had like guns that actually shot gloop.
it's like no.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be fun because like, wait, am I getting sucked into this gun?
And their guns just go. Every time they shoot, they just shoot out these like little green like.
Are you okay there, pal?
Like,
And then,
my gun's jammed.
like, shit, let me get some more gloop. So, again, like I said, they're slipping constantly in their own slime, but overwhelming Jim with sheer numbers. So, Jim fumbles with his new ray gun, blasting massive craters through the scrapyard. And then, of course, this is where Schubert comes into play, right? Because Schubert's like, let's get angry, and all of a sudden he just turns into his rage monster and, like, chewing through tanks, tossing Jim around like a squeaky toy. So I mean, it's more like he's just going back and like, and like just throwing him across the battlefield, and then Jim's like, wowee, and he's just doing his stupid, Earthworm Jim shit. And then, Jim and Schubert believe that they barely escaped Trashopolis Prime, leaving only carnage in their wake. So think of piles of junk falling over, things exploding, and just chaos. So in this case, with Jim with his new rocket, ray gun, and his kick-ass companion, him and Schubert continue onward towards Chrysalon to finally rescue the princess and live happily ever after. Or happily after. No, my bad. Not ever after.
Yes.
The point is, though, the only thing that I don't know about this is because, like, again, he's gonna go in his jet rocket with Schubert, and again, hopefully in his his normal size, because if he was the big one, I don't know how well he's gonna be able to propulsion himself out of there.
I'm assuming Schubert was back to his normal size, and at this point, the rocket was made into the jet rocket that we know from the video game.
Well, yeah, no, I get all that, which we'll say real quick is that, yes, Jim, even though he's kind of an idiot with the suit, it kind of gives him this, like, ability to be smart.
It gives him an intelligence, yes.
And so again, with him talking and doing other things, like he does, it's like he's kind of a jack of all trades. He kind of starts to learn, and he, like, again, he builds this jet rocket. So, like, it's not like he's a complete moron, but he's not
a moron like Jar Jar Binks was.
Correct.
Yes.
But in this case, like, he's smart enough to be able to do certain things.
So now we get to Act 3, and this is where Jim finally reaches Chrysalon. He finally gets that, interaction with the princess. So he reaches the princess's chamber on Chrysalon. He's 100% convinced, like, yes, I'm saving her. I'm going to be triumphant here. And as soon as he gets face to face with the princess, she instantly does the eye roll and is like, ew, that was totally for Chad, my boyfriend, as if you're just a worm.
I really think Matt should play the part of princess. Oh my God.
And
oh my God.
This is like where basically Jim's world just shatters. Like, he spent his whole entire time trying to get to this one spot where he was like, I need to rescue the princess, and he's just, what? Like, this whole mission, his whole purpose in life was to rescue her, and that was the reaction. So it's like the whole grand hero fantasy for him just collapses. And moments after that, like, Chad enters. I mean, he's just the dumb, ripped, and he's like, seriously, bro?
Come on,
like,
bro.
Like something like, come on, bro. The princess instantly fawns over him, ignoring Jim completely. And then this is when, before Jim can even react, Queen Mucus-Chugger storms in. She has her glob squad and, more globlobs. Jim and Schubert are instantly overwhelmed. They're captured. They're dragged into the throne room. That's where the suit is instantly stripped away. Jim just kind of flops on the ground because, once again, he is just a worm. Yeah, so that's this is where it gets interesting, because you have to understand that these two, the princess and the queen, they are Glooparians. They're covered. I mean, maybe not the princess so much right now, but everything in this throne room in the kingdom is covered in gloop, in slime. So when they take the suit off of Jim, he flops on the ground because he's a worm, right?
Oh, yeah.
The princess and the queen recoil in disgust. So the princess instantly is like, ew, gross.
Seriously, man, I think I'm gonna have you audition
And
for her.
and the queen sneers, not until it's sanitized, and she refuses to touch the suit that Jim was just wearing.
So the interesting part is how are you going to sanitize the suit, especially if they're again when you have Queen Mucus-Chugger who's literally gloop, okay, and you're talking
I'm
about this
assuming that
nastiness.
I'm assuming that she wants to probably soak it in gloop before she will even.
Well, right, because it might as well just give her own gloop and put it in there, like it, and-
So basically, what they do after that is they hang up the suit untouched, like it's on display, mocking Jim. Again, Jim is now a worm, so I don't really think that he's thinking at this moment. But they basically put it on display. They're chained up, and the villains are now. This is where the queen, the princess,
flybys,
the flybys, like they're all arguing what to do next. They don't want to touch the suit. They all think it's gross, which makes it really funny to me. Like they're all covered. You have one character who eats gloop. You have all the characters that are covered in gloop. Like it just makes it funny. Like he's just a worm. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, I mean, granted,
you can't even really lock up Jim. Because he's a
again, he's small at this point. Like he's not
he's
going
a
to
worm.
Yeah.
So Schubert hulks out in a fit of rage, and he does this feral leap, crashes into the display, crams his massive body into the suit, and the suit wraps around him and creates a hulking, chaotic parody of what Jim was in the suit. So you have this dual-headed dog now wearing a super suit.
I can only imagine if Schubert actually spoke in this moment. You know what I'm saying? Like I understand, like all that. It would depend on how he would speak.
That would be hilarious.
I
But
think
now
it
you have to imagine. I would almost imagine that he would have semi-normal legs and arms.
Well, I mean, I guess if you think about it, I mean, if you're looking at like a werewolf, I mean, yeah, their legs are like the paws are like a certain way, and then it's like they have this angled leg. In this case,
when you put Jim in the suit, worms don't have arms and legs, so it gave Jim normal hands and feet.
yeah. So then at that point, it'd be like the head of a werewolf or two heads of a werewolf, and then like you said, like maybe have like you could probably have like the arms as like like it would be like with claws and shit, and then the feet would just be maybe it would just look like a normal boot or something like that,
Yeah.
to cover it up. I don't
It
know.
would be interesting on how AI would like picture like Schubert wearing the suit, because I haven't pictured.
I actually
Schubert-
would think that would be kind of cool if you could do that. I'm not saying right now, but
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to see like what it would actually look like. But this is Schubert goes on an uncontrollable rampage. He's tearing through the globs. He's flattening Glob Squad soldiers. He nearly crushes Chad in the chaos. I'm sure he's
Bro.
like, bro.
Don't crush me, bro.
Yeah. The sight of a slobbering two-headed dog stuffed in the suit, I think it's both hilarious and it's terrifying, honestly.
I mean, when you look at the concept photos of what Schubert looks like in his hulked out form, I mean, that is not one thing, or that alone, I would be like, I'm running the other way. Like I wouldn't want to be anywhere near him.
So, despite what this actually says, because Jim is a worm, so he wouldn't be saying anything. But I think at some point, Schubert does become exhausted. He does finally rip himself free from the suit, dropping it in front of Jim. Jim wriggles back inside. The tech reactivates and returns Jim to his Earthworm Jim form just in time for this climactic showdown. And this is where we get this like mucus-soaked final battle, right? Where we have Jim, his ray gun, he's vaporizing half the palace, right? You get flybys. His flyboys are dying in droves mid-battle. Schubert's raging. He's ripping through gloop soldiers like chew toys. Again, we have this GlobZilla. And we have actually, I don't know if I had this the last time, but I did have to go back to AI because I was like, how do we defeat a GlobZilla when you shoot it it breaks up into smaller
Right, pieces of
pieces.
itself. Yeah.
So what AI came back with was on the ray gun itself, there's an overload button. But when you hit the overload button, it causes the gun to explode when fired.
It almost sounds like like Jim would go, "Ooh, what's this button do?"
So,
you know.
but the button, when you hit overload, even though it makes the gun explode in your hand, it shoots out like a basically an overpowered burst. So this is what would cause a gloop explosion in every direction. And this is what ends up happening with the big battle of the GlobZilla is he doesn't see it until like the last minute. And he hits this button and fires it. The gun explodes in his hand. And this GlobZilla just explodes in every direction. Everything within like 100 yards is coated in this green, sticky green goo, including Jim, who is now half buried in it. And they barely survive. Schubert is at his side. You know, the queen is dripping in slime, shrieks after him. I've put a bounty on that suit. Every bounty hunter in the galaxy will be coming for you. And then we just see Jim turning slightly towards the camera. Groovy.
Yeah, and he's like, he's smirking, he's grinning, he's like, yeah, I beat your ass. Now I'm gonna just, say this real quick. But then this is the part that could literally set up for a sequel. And this is our theory, or at least this was my theory before, or I think we both kind of agreed on this. Is that the worm in the very beginning, could this be this particular character? And so what I'm talking about is hopefully is like kind of like not like an Easter egg, but like a post credit scene here. You'd have a rival worm in a dark supersuit lands on a desolate space station, and then basically he'll say a line, and but the line would be there's only room for one worm in this dirt pile. So I'm thinking like as a joke, like as if we're already doing certain movie references, like do like that, like Thanos, like Avengers right at the end, like he's like grinning and then he just says a line like that or something like that. So like I'm thinking like this suit, because like if you look at Jim, he's again he's pink, he's got the white suit on, like different colors, but like this one is like I'd think it'd be like he'd be like the suit would be like maybe like a darker purple, maybe the worm is kind of black, or something like that, or like a different color or whatever, and then just make it like maybe his eyes are glowing or, like so. Just kind of imagining that, but like you're looking at him as like okay.
Well, Jim I think Jim looks more goofy, so I think with him like he would have to have like more of a scar going down, like
something
like
serious,
the side, and like more of that serious look. But like Jim also, he's a lighter colored worm, so I think you have a darker colored worm, but the suit would have to be more of like a black or a dark gray.
I know.
So it's a darker colored suit where you can tell like this is a different worm like altogether. It's a much different type of character where you're like, oh crap, like he's definitely coming for Jim.
Right, because I would actually laugh if we could do like I said just like kind of tease that, like we were talking about like the first worm thinking that that would Jim, and then doing that. What
would be funny too is if he had like a large feather like hanging from the back, and that you would be like, oh shit, like he killed that fucking bird.
Right, or how did he end up here? But like we could if we ever could do a sequel, then then we could definitely play around with that. But that's basically the gist of the story, for what AI came up with here. But I mean, next week we'll kind of go over more about the different characters again. I mean, we've talked about it a little bit, but I mean, we're going to kind of do a deep dive into that, and then also do kind of more of the like there's other locations we didn't really mention like within the movie, that we were coming up with here, but like so for example, like we're talking about like the Flyboy's lair, like where he hangs out and stuff like that. So there's different things that we'll be talking about, but we've been talking about Earthworm Jim. And I'll say this real quick, man, is like, overall, I mean, as a 90s character, and it's funny how even today's society, we use a lot of like 90s, I would say like 80s, 90s, maybe even early 2000s, like especially like the culture now, or even the fashion. I've been noticing there's a lot of different things that are coming from the past that are bringing back now, and we're like, holy shit! Like all of a sudden, so like I feel like doing a movie like this would kind of help, maybe bring a new generation of people to to kind of maybe enjoy this, and this is where I think that I think it would be a good idea. Like I said, if we had the right budget, if we had all, and again, this is if we were assuming that we had already this whole thing planned out the way it would be, but I mean, whether or not it does really well in the box office, I mean, we'll see. But I mean, if we had let's say, like you said, a $400 or $500 million budget, I would hope that it would do really well.
I think it could do really well, and I think, I mean, I think you're right. I think if it was done really well, and it was shot well, and the story was solid, I think it could do really well.
Yeah, and I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe it could be a trilogy. Maybe if we could ever do it. But like, I mean, even for a first starting of a movie, I mean, I give it a 10 out of 10 personally. Because it's better than some of the shit that comes out now.
Oh, it's definitely better than some of the shit that comes out now.
But anyways, I know we've been talking about Earthworm Jim here, but again, we're gonna go real quick about this fist. Okay, a little fist bump. All right, so like a little follow, interact, subscribe, tell your friends, do all that fun stuff. Because again, two dudes on two different mics here. We can't do it by ourselves. I know I go out and I talk to people about the podcast, but guess what? I can't do it alone, right? We need to unite all geeks here. Okay, we're trying to do that. That's our mission. So the point is start checking, start helping us out by doing that. I mean, hell, look at our website, geeksfromthemultiverse.com. Like, you can go find out everything you want to know on there. Matt's done a wonderful job of doing such a great design on it. Take a look at it. I promise you it's well worth it, okay? But anyways, until next time, boys and girls,